Hello, my fellow Americans. I'd like to share this message with my fellow Black Americans. Black Americans. I have said several times on these posts that it is time for us as Black people to do the work that God has called us to do. And He's calling us to do it now. Now, listen, I want you to understand me, especially you Blacks, because this message is especially for you. You've heard it said that we are the original people. We are the first. I look at that as this. I am the oldest of my mother's children. I am the first. And she had 12 total. The thing that makes me first is I get introduced to everything before the rest of them did. And because I'm first, I'm supposed to know what the others have got to learn because they have not been here long enough. There are things that they will learn that's different than me, but I'm supposed to be ahead of them. So as a Black race considered as being the first, then we're supposed to know what perhaps the others do not know, yet at least. And so this is why we have been given the position of sharing with the rest of the human race how to live a wonderful life. So I've been given to call to the Black race and tell us God wants us now to set the example of what needs to be done and how it's to be done. Now we'll start with America. This will be our example. This is our education for people here in America. Now, I want you to understand when I say that we as Black people have been called to do this, I want you to look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a white guy. And look at the programs that he's been trying to institute, even though, well, he's not legally supposed to be in office, but he is. But we want to focus on what he's doing. He's talking about cutting programs. He's talking about sending people out of this country. He's talking about tariffs as a way of dealing with other people for whatever reason. And you can bet your last money they're telling you already that dealing with those tariffs is not going to do anything but hurt the American people as far as the costs are concerned. And I don't have to go into that too much. You know what it will be like because it's been like that one way or the other ever since we've been on the earth. But one thing has not been. It has not been like God would have it to be. Like God is asking us to show them how to be. Now I realize that most of you Black people as well, and I'm talking about Black people, don't have no idea of what God's plan is and how it's supposed to operate. The only thing that you can focus on perhaps is what you've read in Scripture or what you've heard in church or what you've heard somebody say on radio. And it's no different than what everybody else has heard. Or maybe a little bit different. Some of you focus on prosperity preachers. But here is the way it's done. And I want you to see how simple it is. It's not complicated at all. It is very simple. Especially when you look at what others are doing. And we don't have to look too far. It's happening all over the world in different ways, but nobody's doing it this way. This is the way. Every human being must understand a few things that you might already know, but you don't give it any power. The earth and everything on it belongs to God. And it's to do all of the things that the earth does. It's a home for we people and other living things. But we're focusing on we the people. We the people require certain things to survive on this earth. And the things that we require, that power that created the earth has already put it here. We're talking about resources. But let me say to you from the beginning, every individual on the face of the earth who are at a working age, who is qualified to have a job or a career. Each of you, according to God's plan, should be working. You should have a career. But the career that you should have, it will be wrapped around those things that have already been determined by we the people that we require in order to have a satisfied or fulfilled life. Those things already exist, most of them exist. But there are new things that do not exist that will come into being as God chooses people to bring them into being, the same as he did the computer, the same as he did the telephone and other things. But every last one of you are to have a job. Black people, every person on earth is supposed to have a job. Remember this. Everybody in the United States of America should have a job. But it's not just any job out of those various jobs that are available to us. Each one of us are supposed to choose a job, choose a career. And we're to choose a career that gives us our greatest joy. Because this is what we are going to be doing. This is our participation in life. Now, it could be anything that it is. It could be engineering. It could be artists. It could be singing. It could be painting. It could be dancing. It could be teaching. It could be in healthcare. It could be computers. It could be AI. It could be anything. Building houses, preparing food, making sure that we never run out of food. All of these things, each of you would have the opportunity to choose that one which gives you your greatest joy. And when I say your greatest joy, it allows you to engage yourself in that process daily and nightly, depending upon what your choice is. And it fulfills you. It fulfills you to the max. In other words, the joy that you have is the joy that God can give you. The world can't give it, and the world can't take it away. So it's guaranteed to be pleasing. Now, based upon the career that you choose and this joy that you're having, your career, your engagement would be participating in creating a manifestation, producing in some form in that which already exists or that we have determined are essential. It could be digging a ditch. It could be watching the kids or watching someone else's kids. It could be looking after health care. Let's see, what do you call it? Let's say somebody's dying. My thinking cap is not right on that. But let's say someone is passing and they need assistance. They need someone to look at them. That would be the job of someone who has the greatest joy in doing nothing else but looking after those who are sick, looking after those who need someone to take care of them, to look for them. And it could be a parent, it could be a child, it could be anyone that gets joy out of doing that. Now, the resources that are being used to do all the things that you're doing, making, producing, whatever it is that you're producing, anything from food to housing to clothes to cars to trains to anything that's being used today. Those resources come from God. Now you're going to have to understand this. The resources come from God. They don't come from Standard Oil. They don't come from people who got contracts on them. That's the world's system. It's the world system of utilizing what they call a way of what they end up doing is robbing people, taking advantage of people. But you can't take advantage of people when you're dealing with God's stuff. These resources belong to God, and they are to be used for what they are used for. But they're not used for making money. They are used for meeting the needs, the wants, and the desires of the people. I'll say that again. The resources of this earth are to be used to meet the needs, the wants, and the desires of the people. Not anything like Trump doing. Not trying to cause pain and suffering. Not trying to be the top dog. Not trying to be the greatest country on earth. No. It's to glorify God. That's what the resources are for. And they are to be accessible to every career that's using them. And it costs you nothing. All right? Now, what it does, it makes sure, it guarantees that you never have to suffer for food, for clothing, for shelter, for education, for health care, for transportation, for infrastructure, or anything that's made by the hands of human beings that you, the people, might desire of. And you never have to pay for anything because you're part owners in everything. Human beings, all of us that's working, all of us that got a career, are part owners in everything that is created by the hands of man. That means you don't need money. That means you're part owner. And what you need, want, and desire, you access it when you desire or when you want. Okay? Now, this will allow you to live in peace and be prosperous, to be free, to be joyous and happy. And on top of that, it allows you to live your dreams. Not think about them, not wonder when it's going to come, but to actually live your dreams, beginning with that joy that you got from that career that you've chosen, that allows you to participate in all of the stuff that exists. And you owe nobody nothing but your love. And your love is participating in that which each and every last one of us engage ourselves in and utilize. Okay? You got that? Now, when we exercise our daily careers like I just described, it allows us to have a satisfied life, a fulfilled life without lying, without cheating, without stealing, without killing, without terror, without war, without hatred and racism and bigotry, poverty. None of that stuff exists. Why? Because we're doing things different. We're not out trying to do anything that the world is doing. I think the easiest way for me to mention it to you is in America, you see what Trump is doing. Some people think that's great what Trump is doing, but some of you know that there's nothing good in anything that Trump is doing. So as black men, black people, our job is to express the kind of life that would glorify God. And how is that? That's by meeting the needs of all of the people. What you do, keep in mind, to glorify God means that we recognize that God is the owner of all that exists. And since God is the owner and God has provided it, like the earth, He's provided it for all human beings. Not to be sold, not to buy this or try to buy that, but to engage us so we can all utilize it. All have access to it. All have access to it. And those resources, the same thing. And when we have done this, it's already complete what I've just shared with you. Black people, understand that it's a new way of life. We are focusing on God, not Putin, not a king or queen, or anybody that gets an army and go out and take people's land, take people's resources, call it their own. Come up with a system where you can rob people, call it your own, and say no, all of that is crazy. That has nothing to do with God. But I'm telling you, the way of life, the way of a fulfilled life, is as I've described it to you. And in order for you to prove that, or to understand that you're glorifying God, is that you must, and I said it, I want to say it clearly, you must care for your neighbor. You must love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. What that basically means, you want to have your dreams fulfilled. And that means you got to want your neighbor's dreams to be fulfilled. See, when your neighbor's dreams are fulfilled and yours are fulfilled, you're not at odds with anybody. Both of you are satisfied, and all of you are satisfied. And you have exactly what you need, want, and desire. So, you must recognize that God is the boss, not some man on a throne. You must recognize that all the resources come from God, and they're not owned by anyone. They still owned by God to be used by those who use them to do the things that they do. And when you've done that, then you are experiencing heaven on earth. Now that's the simple form. It'll get a little bit more technical when you start making sure that you're switching proper from man's way to God's way. See, in God's way, here's the trick. God's way, there are no millionaires. There are no billionaires. There's no multi-billionaires. So there are not a group of people who have robbed the nation and walking around calling themselves smart, calling themselves big shots, calling themselves in a position to start talking about other people and what other people can't do, because we are all doing it. We're doing it because we're connected to God, and God has a plan that permits us to do it. Now, there still might be some Trumps around, people like Putin and those other guys who want to take things. But you must keep your eye on God and love others as you love yourself, and utilize what God has given you to do the things that you have been given to do. Now, that's a little small snippet of it. And I want to give that to you so you can start thinking about it and stop worrying about Trump. What we got to do is ignore Trump. Ignore what he's talking about and start doing the things that would allow the change to come, that will create the heaven on earth, that will create the heaven on earth. And we, the black people, have to start doing this. We have to champion this. White people don't even understand it. They understand, over here, they understand capitalism and killing. We are talking about living. Black people living and promoting God, not promoting any other system, any other anything. You got it? All right, I'm going to leave that with you now. So you go, talk, think, and pray if you want. The time will come that you will understand it as clear as I do. Thank you for now.